Folks at home, welcome back to the 5-acre pond build part 7. And if you missed one of the first 6 videos, I'll put links down in the description below so you can see how we got to where we're at today. But in last week's video, we hauled 250 dump truck loads of clay in, and we got that compacted and finished up building the dam. And now we're at what I consider the most exciting part of the whole process. This is the point where we get to design and lay out islands, pockets, channels, and underwater road beds, and all of those things that really make a pond unique. But being a longtime bass fisherman, I can honestly say this is one of the coolest things ever. And one of the first things the guys built for me is what I call the big bass hole. And we put it in the shallow end, so most of the shallow areas of the pond are 5 to 6 feet deep. And in the big bass hole, it drops down to around 10 feet deep. And in the future, I can guarantee you that some of those big females will hang out there. And another cool feature is these underwater road beds. So we built these 2 roads for the trucks to haul the clay in and for the big blue tractor to excavate all the dirt out. And we're going to leave those road beds in there. We may shave them down just a little bit, but it'll be a nice change of depth. And then next up is going to be Alcatraz Island. We're putting it right out in the middle of the pond, and it's going to come up around 2 to 3 feet above the water level. So since we have to line the entire pond bottom with a 2-foot clay blanket, we're going to have to go through and smooth out some of these edges. So anywhere where you see these vertical drops like down through the channels, we're going to have to go through and smooth those out. But next up is going to be an addition for our pet bass Clyde. So I'm getting them to build a pocket out right in this area, and we're going to call it Clydes Cove. Because if you guys watched our backyard pond build, I got Ed to build a bass cave, and since Clyde spent so much time in there, we called it Clyde's Cave. So it's only fitting that we add Clyde's Cove into the pond. So the guys are getting an early morning start, and we're going to start out excavating around the island. And you can see he's running into a little bit of PVC pipe there, and my guess that it's an underground septic system because it looked like we ran into some concrete, so there was probably a house here years ago. But the island's going to be right on the backside of where he's excavating, in the exact spot that the old oak tree fell down. So we may have to plant a single oak tree out there on the island in memory of the big fallen oak. But take a look at the other blue tractor that's sitting out there in the middle of the pond, and right now it's permanently. So every week since we started this job, one of the big blue tractors will have a breakdown and we'll have to swap over to the other one. Last week he flipped it and it almost rolled off the backside of the dam. But yesterday this tractor actually caught on fire, and it was a mess. The guys were out there trying to use the fire extinguisher, but it wouldn't work, so they put the fire out with sand. But the problem is now it's stuck in park. And those tractors are so heavy it's hard to move them if those tires won't rotate. So we talked to the New Holland guys, and there's a combination of things you can do inside the tractor that'll temporarily take it out of park. And that seems to work for about 10 seconds, and then it goes right back into park. But hey, worst case scenario, if they can't get it out of the pond, it'll just become good fish structure. Now next up, he's working on Clyde's Cove, and with this kind of big machinery, it doesn't take him long. But notice how red that clay is. And man, it's really unfortunate that there was just a little bit too much sand in it. When we got the geotech report done, we had a lot of clay here, but they called it sandy clay. And there was just enough sand in it to keep it from holding water. So if it weren't for that sand, we could have saved a lot of money on this project and wouldn't have needed 850 loads of clay. Definitely excited to see how this one turns out. So back before we started the pond build, every day we came out, we'd see our friendly fox squirrel that we called Foxy, and he would always be out eating the leftover peanuts. And we hadn't seen him in a little while, but look who came back to check out the pond. He seems to be impressed with the progress, but now he's going to get out of here, and usually we'll get a big jump right at the end. Got him. So now that the island, cove, and road beds are getting pretty close to complete, it's time to start smoothing some of those vertical edges out. So next week we're going to try to bring in 450 trucks of clay to finish out the clay blanket. And since we've had so much crazy weather with a lot of rain, we've got a bold plan. So our goal is to try to complete it in 3 days, bringing around 150 loads in per day, which I don't know if that's going to be possible, especially if we have breakdowns, but that's our plan. So the guys are also going to bring in another bulldozer, so that's a lot of clay to get brought in, spread out, and compacted in 3 days, but I do have confidence in these guys. But you'll be seeing that in next week's video, and after that, the pond should be complete. So now the guys are shooting some elevations around the island to make sure that we've got enough dirt up above the water level, and then they're also going to shoot points along the length of the dam, because it needs to be built up 3.5 feet above the water level. And when you're shooting these elevations, you know exactly where your water level is going to be because that's determined by that vertical standpipe that we'll also be putting in next week. That part's pretty simple. The top of that pipe is your water level. Alright folks, there's a look at it. The dam is 100% complete now. The drone shot doesn't do a really good job at showing all the different contour levels because there's a lot of drops, and this is kind of my favorite part of the pond. So show you everything real quick. That's the island, and when I get down in the pond you'll be able to see the heights a little bit more, but this is kind of the overhead view. The dock is going to be right there in that location, but this is where the bass are going to hang out, and I hope you guys can see it on camera. There's a road bed that comes up right here, drops off into that big bass hole. Another road bed going this way, and then another big hump right there, and some smaller humps and channels on the backside. So these guys did an excellent job with building underwater depth changes. So bass love things like little drop-offs like that. They'll sit right down on the bottom. They're little ambush points, and as soon as shad or bluegill swim up over that road bed, it's a perfect place for them to get an easy snack. So what we're going to do next is come in and put some of the wood from our wood piles over there, so some limbs and trees and structure. We'll lay it kind of off the side of these road beds, maybe do some deeper wood piles back there in the back. Man, I'm really excited how this turned out. So right there at the dam, probably 12 feet deep, road bed about 8 feet deep, drop back off into this deep hole for about 10 feet, come back on this road bed for I'm guessing 6 to 7 feet, drop back off right there to about 8. And then you got the pier area that's going to be about 5 feet deep, and then all around the island you got a depth change there. So I might do a quick tour on the Polaris, maybe strap a GoPro on the front of it and then drive you guys around, let you see the whole pond. So let's take a look at the island. What we're going to have to do is go up with our clay blanket until we get to the water level. The water level is going to sit about right there. We're going to have about 2.5 to 3 feet of island exposed. Oh yeah, nice size island here. Not 100% sure what we're going to do with it yet, so leave some comments down below. I know a lot of people have mentioned building a bridge. So if we were going to build a bridge, it would definitely be from here to there. Not sure if we're going to do that yet. But if someone wanted to, they could easily jump off the pier, swim right over here to the island. But one idea we did have for the island is we plan on getting some pet ducks. And hopefully if we build them a roosting area on the island, they can use it to escape the coyotes and bobcats. And this is what I imagine the fish will use as a spawning flat. So we're going to go in with some pea gravel right in there. Now I got one more thing. Leave a comment below on where you think I should put the old oak throne. I'm kind of thinking about putting it around the pier somewhere, either on this side or maybe on that side, because I want to run power to it and have it lit up, underwater lights, and maybe even a camera system. So I'm thinking about maybe the back side of that pier over there, but leave a comment down below if you guys have an idea that makes a little bit more sense. All right, this is the shallow area where we're putting the pea gravel. One thing I really like that he did over here is he built a little hump up right here, and then it kind of dips back off and gets a little bit deeper. Once we had the clay blanket, maybe 2 to 3 feet deep right here, but then once they get back in the pocket, it'll drop back off to around 5 or 6 feet deep right in there. So the bass should definitely use that as a little spawning pocket. So I think the New Holland guy came out, gave up on trying to fix the tractor, but he was able to get it out of park, so they just drug it out there in the field. But this is the last corner of the pond, and they're leaving this area right now so the trucks can come in and out, but eventually they're going to dig this out. And then this is a very important part of the dam. This is where we'll cut some of this bank out and use it as an emergency spillway. So the vertical drain pipe will go right there, and if water comes flooding in and can't make it down that drain pipe, it'll go out of the little cut area out of this dam and flood off down in there into some riprap. And the purpose behind that is to keep it from going over the main portions of the dam. If water ever makes it over there, there's a good chance the dam will fail, and all of the fishies will be swimming in the creek down there. Here's another artifact they dug up. It looks like a big urn. I think that's what you call it. Man, there's no telling how old that is. So here's a look at the very corner of the dam, and it's a pretty steep slope right there. But look at how much material it takes to build the backside of a dam. That's probably easily a 20 to 25 foot drop off right there. And we still got to build all of this back up to where we have that 4-to-1 slope, because Imagine trying to drive a tractor through that and cut the grass right now. It wouldn't happen. So you got to build it so where it's a lot less steep of a slope so you can get on it and maintain that grass. And now that we got the dam finished, probably next week we'll come in and plant it with grass to keep everything in place whenever we have a big rain. We don't want it eroding. So I think I'm going to have to start a new segment in these pond videos called Trespassers because it has gotten out of hand lately. So before we started the pond build, we had a gate up and a fence and didn't have any issues with people coming on the property. But once we started hauling the clay in, we had to take the gate down and widen the road out. And ever since then, people have constantly been coming in. So check this out, guys. This guy's about to drive down the pond dam. Here's what it looks like during daytime, and this is it at night. So there's a few big problems with having people come onto your land in the middle of a big project like this. And the first one is there may be close to $1 million worth of equipment here that I need to protect and keep anybody from just hopping on one and taking it for a joyride. So that's another really big problem. Had this person came just a few days earlier, there was a big cutout in the dam. And trust me, if you fall 25 feet off the back of the dam, there's a good chance you're not going to get the vehicle back out. Or in this case, Polaris. But you guys have heard that old saying before, if you build it, they will come, and I'm starting to see that now. And then my last concern is that I know that once I build the pond, eventually we're going to get some trespassers in here trying to fish. And that would be the worst possible outcome for Bonnie or Clyde. We build them this nice big pond, put them in it, and then a trespasser comes along, catches them, puts them on a stringer, and then they become bass nuggets. So I'd already talked to all the neighbors and said, hey, if you ever need to come on the property, just shoot me a text or call me. And so basically I'm left with no choice but to call the cops when these people come out. And as you can see here, luckily the guy left right before the cops got here. But I'm telling you, the police response time is starting to get really fast. So for all of you trespassers out there in the future, you probably only have about 2 or 3 casts before they get here. But all jokes aside, thankfully nobody got hurt, nobody stole anything, and no fish were harmed in the making of this new trespasser segment. So in the last video I asked you all about a solution to a pier problem I had, and I just wanted to say thanks. We got a ton of good feedback and some really good ideas that I think are going to work. So we're going to go ahead and dig out this area about 4 feet down and put the clay liner down on the bottom, and then use some of the techniques you guys talked about with the concrete rebar. And now I'm not worried about that punching through that 2-foot clay layer. So thanks for those tips. You'll be seeing more on the dock in the next video. And let's check out some of these game cameras. So the bucks definitely love the soybeans. They come through every morning. And this is my first year planting soybeans, but I was a little bit surprised when the deer actually like the soybeans more than they do the corn. But it was all bucks this time around. We didn't see the bobcat or the pigs. And we like to save the best for last. It is time to feed Mr. Moby. Definitely exciting to see all this pond progress, and that means Moby is one step closer to making it to the backyard pond. So it looks like we got us a new pet in the backyard pond. Now we've had toads that come through every spring, but this is a lot bigger than a toad. It's a big old bullfrog. And he doesn't seem to be scared of me at all. I gotta get those underwater cameras back going in there so we can see what he does. Never know what you're gonna see when you walk out here at night. Alright folks, that's going to wrap up this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see the finished product of the pond. That'll either be in the next video or the one after that. But I hope you all enjoyed this one, and thanks for following along with the series, and we will see you all next time.